This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm Chubray from Return of the Jedi. You're listening to the Nerf Herder Council.
Warning: the following podcast contains irreverent humor, exceptionally nerdy opinions, potential cursing, and plenty of love for the prequels. If any of the preceding offends you, please turn off this podcast immediately, and may the Force be with you.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT. Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine. AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
Steve.
The vacuum of space does crazy things to your beehole out there, man.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, part one of our two-part episode running down our rankings of all 11 live-action Star Wars movies.
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. With me are AJ and Steve. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And if you would like, you can get some customized Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. So we are coming to the table tonight to do something we've talked about for a while but haven't really had a chance to do. And we figured now that The Rise of Skywalker has been out for a while. It's coming out on digital in a few weeks, and I pre-ordered my 3D Blu-ray, which unfortunately is not coming till April 24th. That blows, but hey, such is life. We are going to rank the movies. So we each have our own personal list, and I, using a very high-tech scoring system, came up with a comprehensive show list. So, you know, it's kind of interesting because I also ended up doing the total scores to see how we each ranked the trilogies, and each one of us has a different order. It's kind of weird.
I got to call a flaw in your system already, because that is not how I would rank the trilogies.
Well, I based it solely on the points, because basically the point scale is like, you know, it goes like, you know, worst to first. So I gave, you know, whatever we rank number 1, 11 points, and then 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I basically took, you know, how those scores based on each of our lists. I mean, it's weird. Like, Steve actually, based on his list, technically prefers the sequel trilogy over the other two. So that was kind of interesting. And AJ, yours, you like the original trilogy best and the prequels the least. And then, I mean, it doesn't include Solo and Rogue One. Obviously, I didn't include those. And then mine is the original trilogy, then the prequels, then the sequels, which is probably no surprise. So, but yeah, so we came up with each of our own individual list, and I highlighted 2 items on each of our list because I thought that these were kind of interesting choices. So, you know, getting right into it, I think to nobody's surprise, Steve and AJ, you guys have Empire as number 1, and I have it as number 2. So, I mean, I don't think that's a surprise. And
It's the only movie where the bad guys technically win, so it puts it at the top of the list automatically.
So now, did you guys do it based on
Last Jedi? Last Jedi, the bad guys win big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys do this?
Well, I got to trump it by putting Darth Vader winning at the end of that one. So
Okay.
that's extra points for me.
There you go. I mean, now, I know you guys both said you'd only put a couple minutes into it, so you weren't trying to overthink it. But did you go more like your favorite, or did you go more just based on, okay, well, I think this overall quality, like, for example, like, I mean, my number one is Revenge of the Sith. And
yeah, how did you arrive at that?
Well, first of all, Empire. Here's my criteria on this. Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie, but I think Empire is the best Star Wars movie. So I kind of went by favorites because my list for me was easy because my top 3 was simple, and number 11 was simple, and then it was a question of filling in the ones in the middle. And I kind of went, okay, if I'm going to rewatch just one Star Wars movie tonight, what am I going to watch? And I kind of went with what my gut feeling would be about what I would watch next. So that's how I came up with mine. So mine's probably closer. In fact, I wouldn't say closer. Mine is kind of like a favorite list.
That's kind of what mine is too. Mine was literally what did I enjoy watching the most. I could really care less, what was necessary or whatever the hell was fun to watch. I'm gonna include in, with the exception of one thing down at the bottom of my list that is probably 1 or 2 spots higher based on just a personal thing other than wanting to watch it. That's about it.
Right. So now, AJ, you said that you really didn't put a lot of thought into it. You're just kind of like winging it, kind of going off the cuff, So
I went for like an amalgam approach. Like,
okay.
I didn't want to get too into the like, this is the best piece of cinematography and the other one has substantial flaws.
Well, the costuming in this one was so much better than the...
So I kind of went a little bit off my gut, but I did go based off of what I thought the best movie was at the top instead of my favorite movie at the top.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, your list kind of surprised me because...
I mean, I've kind of got Empire Strikes Back fatigue. Maybe I just like being the guy against the grain, but since everybody universally in the fandom loves that movie, I'm just kind of like, all right, it's had its due. Can we look at some others now?
I mean, yeah, that's... And I texted you, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but your favorite is Return of the Jedi, correct?
Yeah, but again, that's a sentimental thing.
So basically, if you would have gone with my philosophy on how I did my list, your number one would have been Return of the Jedi, like mine is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I can watch that one anytime.
Okay. And what about you, Steve? Is Empire actually your favorite too?
Yeah, that's
okay.
If I'm gonna pick anything and watch it today, it's probably going to be Rise of Skywalker just because it's the freshest one. But honestly, if I'm going to pull anything out and just watch it, Empire will probably be the first one I ever go to.
Right. You know what's funny about that is like you have the Rise of Skywalker really high, and you said that you think it's because it's the one you've seen the most and the most recently. And I have it 10th out of 11. And I think I put it there because I've seen it the least. I've seen it twice and I'm not as familiar with it. So I think we kind of did the same thing. But
I said, like, I might have it that high. One, I mean, I know we're going to get a little more in depth into this one. I do like the sequel trilogy. I love Rey, and that just being the newest one, and the fact that that's the one that's like on my mind right now. It's like, yeah, I kind of feel like I like that more than the other two in the sequel trilogy right now. So,
right.
I mean, I might change my mind later on that, but right now it just feels like that's kind of where it is right now for me.
Sure. Yeah, mine have never really wavered. The middle ones were difficult for me. But like I say, number 11 is easy.
It's like golf. Hitting off the tee isn't that hard, and putting isn't that hard unless you're on, playing putt-putt. But it's the middle game that's the problem. Yeah. And it's almost the same thing that you said. I'm like, okay, I know I'm putting Empire at 1. I know Attack of the Clones is in the basement. Figure out the rest.
Yeah.
That was really where I started out with it.
I have Solo really low, and I love Solo. I love that movie.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, it's weird where certain things ended up on our lists because when we actually get into this, I don't think we're really going to feel like it deserves to be in that spot.
Right.
For me, a lot of it was like, well, I only have like 3 positions left, and I've got like 4 movies to choose from. So which one do I have to put fourth so I can pick my top 3 now?
Yeah, it's like when JT questioned number 10 on my list. I'm just like, hey, it's not that it's bad. It's just something's got to be towards the bottom of the list, and this is kind of where it fell. That's all.
Yeah. Right. To me, it's like Antonio's Pizza has like 4 different kinds of pepperoni. So it's like you always sit there and be like, man, do I want cup and char pepperoni? Do I want old world? Do I want regular? Do I want thick cut? It's like, okay, well, it's hard to pick because you're going to have a favorite, but it's all pepperoni, so it all kicks ass.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I mean, that's what these movies were like for me when I was doing this. You know, when I had to figure out 7 of them, I was like, well, crap. Like, I love all of them. Like, I would watch any of them. It's like, so then you have to really come up with it.
Except for Attack of the Clones, I'll just skip that one pretty much every time.
Dude, you know what? It's funny.
So even that one though, that's like, yeah.
I'm talking out of my ass.
No, you want to start there?
I'll watch
You wanna
the
start at the
movie,
bottom?
but
Well, yeah, I mean, so
I will watch that movie. I'm really not like leaning towards picking that one out though.
I love it because it's very different. Like I've said before on the show, it's like a whodunit. It's a very different vibe than any of the other movies. It's a whole different type of a story. I mean, in a way, it's almost kind of Empire-esque in the way that all the characters are in different places, and then they kind of connect at the end. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that. I mean,
Attack of the Clones is the equivalent of like if it was a cop drama. Attack of the Clones is Law and Order ATC. Might as well have had Ice-T in that damn movie.
Well, they already had Samuel L. Jackson, so why not add Ice-T? So,
Dude,
yeah, you guys.
The love story in that movie is what collapsed it for me. Like I cannot get behind the whole Anakin Padme thing, and it's so critical to nail that for the entire saga that I have to put it at the bottom.
Do you think that that's a product of bad story writing, or do you think it's the crappy dialogue? Because I rewatched the prequels recently, and I gotta say, I really think it's the dialogue. Steve, you better plug that thing in.
No, it's fine.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
Thought I saw the battery indicator on our recording computer.
it was just the worst parts of George Lucas coming out. The dialogue was bad, and his directing of the actors apparently wasn't that good either. So you got poor performances with poor dialogue, and it's just cringeworthy. The best thing about Attack of the Clones is that from seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff, there was so much more of it that got cut out. Thank God we didn't get any more of it.
Well, see, I don't have a problem with it. Because I really blame it on the dialogue, because I think the performances would have been better had they had easier lines to work with, like more natural things to say.
I don't know. Was there any dialogue when Anakin was riding that giant, like, bulbous hippo-looking thing in the fields?
Oh, the big fat deer?
Yeah, and like rolling around in the weeds with Padme. Like there was no dialogue whatsoever. That was just awful. It's just bad.
Yeah. I mean, it was unnecessary, I suppose, to show it in that light. But again, I mean, for me, part of the reason I like that movie is because of stuff like that is so different. I mean, it may not be great and could be considered downright shitty, but I mean, it was different. It was something that they had never come close to doing anything like that. So I thought it was
good reason. Shit.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a reason they haven't done it.
Well, so at least we know why you guys both have it last. I actually have it number 8. I have 3 movies behind that one.
I mean, the Battle of Geonosis is a redeeming point for that one for sure. And I felt bad putting it at the bottom because, I mean, the end sequence alone is, you want to talk about taking a chance and nailing it? I would say, as ridiculous as it was to see Yoda fight.
Oh, that was
cool
awesome.
to see Yoda fight.
I don't know why people bitch about that. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was awesome. Because it's like you hear all these stories about the Jedi for all these years, and lightsabers kicking ass, like, and then you got Yoda in the prequels. You're like, well, what, does he not do anything? Did he just sit there with his thumb up his ass the whole time? Like, he can't just do that. He had to have fought at some point.
And it was the debut of digital Yoda.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's parts of it that are all right, but it's like, if you really want to cut up Attack of the Clones to watch all the good parts, it's like an 18-minute movie.
That's a fair point.
So bad. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I had 3 below, but you guys
counting
don't.
3 minutes of the scroll at the beginning too.
So at number 10, we all have a different movie. AJ's, I think, is a little obvious.
And that's probably where I should have it as well, but bumped it up for personal reasons.
Yeah. AJ's got the Phantom Menace at number 10.
See, I put it that low because it's another one of those ones where, like you're saying, you can get an 18-minute cut out of Attack of the Clones and not miss anything.
All right.
There's a very little bit that you need from Phantom Menace for the rest of the saga to make sense.
I disagree.
I've never
you don't even need Darth Maul.
Right.
Well, I mean, and now that part's true.
And I've never been a fan of like God, it
Well,
feels.
wait a minute.
It feels like the damn pod race is like 55 minutes. I swear to God.
I love the pod race. Why do you not like
the
the
major
pod
action
racing?
piece of the movie? That's why.
Like I'm fine with it, but every time I watch the movie, it seems like the scene is longer and longer every time.
I love the pod racing.
Like I can't put a finger on why I have a problem with it, but I swear, like when I saw it in the theaters in 3D and stuff, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like this pod race has been going on for like an hour. What the fuck, man? Like it wouldn't end. I'm just like, dude, I don't remember it being this goddamn long before.
I wonder if they put
They tacked on more.
I was gonna say, is that the full version that they did in 3D?
I remember years ago.
All right, so I wasn't imagining that then. All right.
Yeah, years ago, they on the DVD they were like, "We've got the extended pod racing scene. There's 7 extra minutes." I was like, "Wow, that was actually a pretty long scene to begin with." Now it's
like we were
7 minutes longer.
It's like we were watching the damn Daytona 500. They're on like lap 36 or something. I'm like, are you guys going to show the rest of the movie at some point? What the hell?
I thought it was cool. I mean, I didn't mind the pod racing. I thought, seeing young Obi-Wan was cool. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I love that.
Ultimately unnecessary to the saga, though. Once you take out what you know from the Clone Wars or any other supporting material, Qui-Gon never comes up again.
Which I think is criminal.
That's where I had to put it low, because I'm like, yeah, if you remove all the stuff they've done to flesh out and make that movie matter, there's not a lot left. It doesn't matter that Anakin built 3PO.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't make sense that R2 just plays dumb the whole time, even though he knows all this stuff. Darth Maul never comes up again except for Solo.
Knows all what stuff?
The fact that he exists since episode 1 and everyone acts like they just met him in episode 4 and vice versa.
To me, that's just one of those plot points they couldn't write out. It's like, I don't remember owning a droid. He says it in episode 4. So, I mean, what are they going to do?
Not put it in.
So you wanted to have no R2 in the prequels?
They could have found something, man. All I'm saying is they
all right, Steve, let's turn that mic off tonight.
If you're going to introduce your own plot holes, I've got to nail your ass to the wall for it. Right there with Padme dying in childbirth after Luke says, "I have no memory of my mother," and Leia does. He wrote his own plot holes in. It's like the opposite of a retcon.
You can't put that line in a movie in 1977, get it to be as popular as it is, and then make a prequel in 1998 and accidentally include a line that's that contradicts something that's 30 years old at that point. It's just
technically R2 was Anakin's, remember, because that's who he was hanging around with. So he didn't own him, he borrowed him. That's why he said, I don't remember owning a droid, because he only borrowed him.
Do you know how many droids Obi-Wan had throughout the Clone Wars?
Well, there you go. So, because he never owned them. He just went through them like freaking hot knife through butter.
Good point. He was a crappy owner.
Yes.
But yeah, so that, I mean, Maul didn't matter. Maul shows up in Solo, but even if you never seen Darth Maul before in episode 1, you just be like, you would just know that he's a badass with a red lightsaber, so you're going to be scared of him.
Yeah. I mean, that one I'll give you. Although the only thing I will say is,
so you can take out the main villain. You can take out most of the sub characters, but you can take out the pod race entirely. Like, if Anakin just shows up in episode 2, there's nothing from episode 1 that you need to know. Other than,
no, I disagree.
In fact, I think even the elevator pitch of like, I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master. Okay, great. Then we know that they have a backstory. We don't even need to see it.
I disagree with that completely, because if you don't have him as a little kid and being compassionate and actually being nice throughout almost all of episode 1, then all you have is asshole Anakin. He's just a whiny punk that has no redeeming qualities. So, I mean, think about it. If you don't have episode 1, the Anakin that we got in episode 2, wouldn't you be like, this guy's a dick? I mean, he's supposed to be the main character and a sympathetic character. The whole prequel trilogy is supposed to be a sympathetic thing of, oh my God, he fell to the dark side, whatever. But without knowing that he actually has compassion and a big heart and stuff from episode 1, you'd be like, well, fuck this guy, because he's just a tool.
Now, you automatically assume that he's a Jedi, which means he's a good guy. You know he's a nice guy by being a Jedi. So then when you hear him talking about all his angsty stuff, you'd be like, well, that's an angsty teenager. Okay. Like, it would still make sense to me.
No. The majority of movie-going people, I mean, they already hated Anakin in episode 2 anyway. And then if you don't have any more backstory, but he's just a jerk, then no one's gonna give a crap at all. They're gonna be like, all right, get to the Darth Vader part.
Yeah, if you didn't have episode 1, you wouldn't have gone into episode 2 with that hatred of Anakin that you had already.
Right, exactly.
I don't know why I bother with you guys, man.
Anyway, no, so I bumped it up above Attack of the Clones strictly like what you're saying. They took a chance. Like no one was expecting the episode 1 that we got. So I'll bump it up a slot just for being brave.
Well,
Not for being successful at it, but being brave.
Steve's number 10 is very interesting because it's your number 2, AJ.
Yeah, wow. You might get kicked off the podcast for this.
Steve has A New Hope as his second to last favorite movie. AJ has it number 2 behind Empire.
Hey, everybody's got to have bad taste in something.
Why do you have it? I mean, you have it under The Force Awakens and The Phantom Menace. I mean, hell, you have it under everything else. Which, I mean, I'm not
Attack
saying...
of the Clones, because that's trash.
Well, you're basically calling A New Hope trash.
It kind of is.
What the hell?
No, I got to hear this one. How did you come up with this?
Because I like watching all the other movies better.
Okay, well, see, this is where the criteria shifts because honestly, me too. But do you feel part of that is just because you've seen it a ton?
That might be part of it.
It's kind of like Van Halen for me. I never listened to the first album.
Right, even though that's
Because
the
I've heard
iconic
you really got me. Jamie's crying and Ain't Talking About Love a million times. So I'm like, okay, I can listen to something, but that doesn't mean it's not like ungodly
So
great.
If I go on Disney Plus and I sit there and I go, gonna watch all of these things. I'm just gonna go through it. Don't care what order. I'm gonna start with Empire. I'm probably gonna watch some of the newer stuff. I might even go to the prequel. Like New Hope is honestly gonna be one of the last things I would pick to watch, just because I'm definitely gonna watch Empire. I'm definitely going to watch Return of the Jedi. By then, I'm probably going to be more, because I'm at the end of the original trilogy, I'm probably going to lean more towards watching the sequel trilogy at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's just I don't see myself going, nah, I need to pull A New Hope out right now. It's going to be one of the last ones I pull out. Just the other 2 movies of the original trilogy are light years better, and by then I'm not going to care to watch it.
It's McClunky for you, isn't it? McClunky ruined it.
Kinda. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, if I'm pulling original trilogy, I'm watching the other 2 definitely. I mean, if you're just going to pull out original trilogy, that's definitely the last one you're going to watch. Without a doubt, that's going to be the last one you're going to watch out of the original trilogy.
Honestly, for me, it is. But the reason is, again, it's because it's the one that I've seen the most, I think.
I mean, and that might just be part of it, and I'm not processing it that way. It might just be I've seen it too many damn times and I don't care anymore.
It is the one that stands out the most because it's the first movie, so the characters aren't dialed in like they are in the future. Just the lore in general is a slightly inconsistent. You know, that's back when they thought the lightsabers were super heavy, so they kept the duel boring because they wielding it all was. I think there was a whole bunch of weird ideas that didn't move forward with the saga. So you're right. Like once you carry it with the rest of the movies, you're like, this one's weird. Like they talk like they're in a 1930s movie, like a James Cagney film. Like everything about it is weird. There's no mention of the Emperor at all because he wasn't even an idea yet.
And they were either on TV or maybe Gwen was watching them on Disney Plus or something. Not that long ago, maybe in the past couple weeks that I remember. And I sat down and I watched part of it, and it basically gets to like after the cantina scene, and by then I'm just like walking around the house doing other stuff. Like it kept my attention through the first 30 minutes maybe, and then I'm just like, I got other stuff to do. I don't know why, but it kept my attention long enough to watch all the normal stuff that we all remember. You're watching Han and Greedo, and you're watching, we don't serve your kind here, blah blah blah, he doesn't like you, and by then it's just like, okay, yeah, I know what the rest of the movie is. And I just walk out the room and start doing other stuff. That's all.
Maybe it's the pacing or something, but I always feel like once they get off the Death Star, like that could be the end of the movie for me. Like that feels like a finale. Like if the credits were to roll right there, I'd be like, that was a good movie. And then they're like, all right, now we're going to attack the Death Star. I'm like, oh my God, we've got like 35 more minutes of this. Okay.
I love the Death Star, man.
I do too, but it's just like, it feels like the movie is so long by the time that even starts.
The last
it's
time,
not. It's just a slow movie.
Yeah. The last time I watched it, I think I watched it through them leaving the cantina, because I actually at this point despise the whole add-on scene of Han talking to Jabba.
Oh, that's horrible.
Like I hate that in the movie now. Like, I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times without that when they added it a few years ago, I'm like, ugh. But I think I watched it through that just to sit there and watch the train wreck of that scene, and then I was just out and I was doing other things.
Yeah, that's one of those. I don't mind that it's there, but I'm like, it's you don't need it. And again, the damn digital Jabba, they can never get right. I do not understand that.
They keep redoing it, and it's still not good.
But yeah, that's literally the last thing I remember watching was them running away. They got the stormtroopers come in, they're shooting, they get away, and I was just, that's the last thing I remember watching. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with the rest of this.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking a minute ago, like they should replace the digital Jabba since they can't get it right. Just replace it with Zero the Hutt. Come boy, what you got a fried Greedo? Just have that horrible voice. Oh, that's like the worst character ever. I'm finally getting into the Clone Wars and little sidebar, but my wife actually enjoys it. She's like, you don't like this? I'm like, well, it just never grabbed me. It's not that I don't like it. She's like, this is fine. I think it's interesting. There's all these new characters and stuff. I'm like, oh wait, here comes Zero the Hutt. And then, oh god,
Hello there.
so bad.
Yeah, sticking with the side note for a second, everybody in the Star Wars universe was all hyped up about the Clone Wars season coming on last week. I have not sat down and watched one stupid second.
I haven't either, but that's because I want to get through all the regular ones first.
Like
okay, fair enough.
I haven't even thought about it getting on. It's not even in my mind to go, oh yeah, Clone Wars.
Right? See, that's a whole nother discussion because like that's a whole long series and I have some thoughts on it. But thankfully I'm starting to get into it, whereas it didn't really grab me before, and I'm still in just season 2. So
cool, yeah. So it hasn't even really gotten good yet.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a couple standout episodes, but otherwise, season 3 is where they really figure out what they're doing.
Cad Bane rules.
Yes.
Cad Bane rules. I told my wife, I was like, that's the guy that they're saying like the boots at the end of the one Mandalorian episode. If it's not Boba Fett, people are saying it's gonna be Cad Bane. And she said that would be awesome if that was the guy. I'm like, right? Live action Cad Bane? Come on.
Hell yeah.
So all right, well
last point on New Hope.
Yeah, okay.
Don't you really wish we'll never get it, unfortunately. We would get a despecialized edition.
I don't understand why they don't release those. I mean, it's money. I mean, it's just waiting to be had. As soon as they announce that, they clean up the original versions and just release them without all the special stuff, all the people that insist that the special editions are crap are just going to like throw their money at that.
Mm-hmm. It's at this point, it's almost like it's a dick measuring contest. It's like it's the same thing. Me being a horror movie buff of New Line and Paramount Pictures with the 20-year argument of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street because, we own the rights to this, but you guys own the rights to Freddy versus Jason, and everybody just butts heads because nobody wants to cave in.
Yeah.
So you got Fox who owns these things, and they're too busy, like I said, trying to measure themselves up against Disney, like holding it over their heads, like, we got this and you can't have it. And Disney's just going,
well, they have it now. They have the rights to it now, don't they?
I thought they were still.
Isn't that
Fox
part of the
still had
acquisition?
It would, if it's part of their film library, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why all the uproar was like, oh, now they can do it. Now they can do it. And and Lucas goes, oh, it doesn't exist. It exists. Shut up.
Yeah, you're right.
You got footage of everything. You don't have the actual movie.
Yeah, that's got to be part of the ownership when they bought all of that out.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't even think of that. But yeah, it's like at least up until last year, I think that was the point, was just that they were trying to hold on whatever last shred of dignity they had over Disney or something.
Yeah, I think the only reason that they did those things in the first place, one, kind of a cash grab, reintroduced to a new crowd, but also it was like a test bed for all the technology that they were going to be using for the prequels.
Yeah.
So the problem is now you've got the oldest, cheapest movie, 77, with the oldest, worst digital effects that any of the movies have too, because it's like the first one that they were like, hey, we're going to use digital stuff now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, damn it. And nothing ages worse than digital effects.
Well, I mean, Lucas said he did it specifically because it's like now the technology's caught up to what he actually wanted it to be in the first place. So the thing that I just don't understand, and then we'll move on, but the thing that I don't understand about it is people that complain, oh, it's this, that, and I'm like, all it is added graphics. Like there's extra creatures and extra buildings. Like the story is completely unchanged. I do not understand. I've never understood the uproar over it. It's not.
People are stupid. It's like you said. People are going to throw all their money if they release the originals again, but then they'll sit back 2 weeks after they come out and complain about how horrible it looks on their 4K TVs and stuff.
There's not a lot happening. This is boring.
Why is it so dark? I can barely even see it on my resolution on my 4K screen.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen, and that's So and my thoughts on A New Hope, and then we'll move on. But like that one, I have it at number 5, and that's the one, dude. Every time I watch it to this day, if I really let myself go and I'm just fully immersed in it and I'm not thinking of other stuff, like I still can remember the exact feelings I had as a little 4-year-old kid when I saw it the first time in 1980 when they put it back out right before Empire. I still remember it. It's so visceral for me, and that makes it a really fun watch because it's like that's the one where I'm the most like a little kid. Because I remember how terrified I was of Darth Vader and how scary but super cool stormtroopers were. And, the Millennium Falcon was the most badass thing I had ever seen. And, Han Solo was just like, so much of a big badass. And I loved it. I mean, and so many things just hit me from that movie. And I still get that feeling from it. It's awesome. But so let's go down Steve's list here real quick. And then we can hit on his other odd one. We've hit on him having A New Hope at number 10. So from the bottom, worst to first, we'll go. He has Attack of the Clones, A New Hope, The Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi.
It just kind of fit in there.
And then The Force Awakens. I mean, that's sacrilege to me. Rogue One, you have it too low. The Last Jedi at 5. Solo is 4. That's interesting. The Rise of Skywalker at number 3. Number 2 is Revenge of the Sith, and number 1 is The Empire Strikes Back. So... yeah, I thought, and like I said, I highlighted 2 on each of our lists to kind of like touch on it because
I really do like the sequel trilogy. I love Rey as a character. I don't care about anybody talking all the stupid crap about Mary Sue that they like to make up.
Online film critics. Don't get me.
It's kind of odd that all the people that dislike Rey are all the people that have played D&D since they were 3 and have yet to see a woman that they haven't had to pay for. It's really odd that those are the ones that really don't like Rey as a character.
I know.
So figure that one out.
Right.
So, I mean, I do like the sequel trilogy a lot, and Return just kind of fit in there. Rogue One is that low because I still stand by what I said originally. I hate the characters.
Do you hate the characters or you're just not into them?
I can't get into them. The movie is great, but like I want to get into the characters, and I could give a rat's ass about anybody in that movie. Like just it needed a second movie for me or something. Like just the fact that everybody in that movie is introduced and killed by the end. I just go, like, why am I supposed to care about you?
It's funny because like there's so many like standard movies that do that. Like you introduce a crew and then they all get wiped out. You're like, oh man, what a bummer. But like with this one,
because there's 11 movies to work off.
I was gonna
like,
say probably because it's not like a trilogy. You're used to like
you just pull a random movie and you make it, and it's never even gonna have a sequel, and you bring everybody in, you kill them all. Yeah, cool, whatever. Yeah, I could pull horror movies out of my ass all day that are set up like that, but there's no part 2 or 3 or 4 or part 11, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, like
when you insert this into this giant story of all these movies, I go, I need to know more about you people. That's all. Like I can't get into it because of that.
I wonder if once the Cassian and K2 series comes out, if you're gonna feel differently.
It's possible. Last Jedi, again, I love the sequel trilogy, and the throne room scene might be one of the best scenes in any of the 11 movies.
The only thing I don't like about that is the stupid red walls. It's like it's like. It looks like they're in an art gallery instead of like on the bridge. I'm like, what is this crap? Like that's the only part I don't like.
It looks like they burnt the background and it's just the green screen behind.
Yeah, and then the crap catches on fire. I'm like, what? You just got straight red curtains, you cheap ass? Like,
Yeah.
good lord, would you run out of budget because you made the ship too goddamn big? Like, like
Solo.
I gotta run. If I walk, the movie will be over.
Solo, again, it's, people want to act like the actors were not chosen correctly, but I love actually having a backstory on Han Solo.
I totally agree.
I love the fact that we learned something about him. Hell, even just the story of how he got the DL-44, like, that's just cool in its own right, knowing, like, hey, so that's where it came from. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nice to know these things. I like that. Rise of Skywalker, I, again, like the sequel trilogy, love Rey. I don't have a problem with any of the fan service. Like,
I don't either.
If you have half a brain in your head and you know that this is the last movie that they're ever going to make about this story, you got to expect all this fan service. At least in my mind, you have to.
That was my thought too.
Asking for a completely original story and all that stuff in the last movie, I'm like, that's just silly. It's not how movies work. Of course they were going to throw fan service in every fucking 5 seconds. It's like throwing beads at fucking Mardi Gras, dude. Like, it's going to be everywhere.
And people bitch about the pacing and stuff. It's like, well, they have so much stuff to cram in there that what are they going to do? Like, you have so many loose ends to tie up that you have no choice but to throw a ton of crap in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, so, I mean, they
and again,
they didn't have a choice but to make it that way.
Yeah, and this is, real life problems outside of the script that we've talked about before, having the directors the way they did it. If you would have had JJ do 2 of them still, but if you would have just had him do 8 and 9 or something instead of having him bookend with Rian Johnson in the middle, like nothing worked. And like you said, there's too many open ends that they had to cover in that movie. And yeah, maybe the movie needed an extra 30 minutes to explain some stuff and it'd probably be a lot better. But
I think
we're not getting that now. So it is what it is.
I mean, I think we've all been in agreement that if they would have done it, like, unfortunately, they're stuck to the trilogy format.
Yep.
But if they would have been able to do what Marvel did with,
A two-part
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been perfect. I mean,
Dude,
that's exactly how you do it.
Up until that, I really thought that they were still going to do that up until they actually said it, earlier last year when they were like, yeah, we're finished with the movie. I'm like, like, I really thought they were going to try to pull a 2-part. That way they could still be a air quote trilogy, but split it up. But
make it like a 5-hour movie and have one come out like, May whatever, and then or
you could have released them both last year. You could have released half of it in May and the other half in December or something.
That would have been
perfectly fine.
That would have been so cool.
And then the top 2, basically the birth of Darth Vader and Darth Vader winning. So that's why they get the top 2 spots. I don't have to think any further past that.
Simple.
That's it.
See, it's funny because like you like the prequel trilogy the least according to point wise, but Revenge of the Sith is your number 2.
Again, it's Attack of the Clones eats it on the point scale, and like I said, Phantom would have been one step lower too if it wasn't for the personal thing of actually getting to take my daughter to see Phantom Menace in the theaters. So.
Right.
See, and it's funny, you put Revenge of the Sith up so high because it's the birth of Darth Vader, but you're into Darth Vader because you saw him in the original trilogy. So it's not even a prequel character that you're interested in. It's just
right.
You're seeing more of your OT fandom coming through.
Yeah. And that is part 1 of our 2-part conversation regarding our personal rankings and show ranking of the movies. Thanks for checking it out. Don't forget, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. You can get your own customized Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. You can find us on pretty much any podcast app you could think of. Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, CastBox, Spotify, all those good places. All of our episodes are available on YouTube. If you'd like to check us out on the web, it is nerfherdercouncil.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can send us an email, nerfherdercouncil@gmail.com. And we are active on our Twitter page, which is at NHC Podcast. So once again, I'm your host, JT at Dogpound Jedi. And he is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
And he is Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And we'll catch you at part 2.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my nerf herder.
You my nerf herder.